Alright, CNT125, Subnet Application Lab. We just left off gathering our configs from our switches and routers. So again, make sure you have those. At this point, I want to make sure I have, my 2011 config, the 4221 config, the bottom switch, top switch, and I also want to make sure I have the routing table. And before I go, let me move my console cable to the 2011 router. Here we go. I'm going to plug that in the 2011 router. We looked at the routing table on the 4221. If I look at the routing table on this guy, I'm going to see similar information. It's just a little more abbreviated. It does not show the individual interface addresses. So I actually see three networks here. I see the 128.0.0.0 and 64.0. Same as I saw on the other one. It's just the other routing table shows the interface addresses too. So if you save this one or the other one, it really does not matter. They show the same overall information. Just a little side note on that one. Okay, so what we want to do now is clear our configs, and then we'll take a look at the submission. So since I'm on this router, I'm going to do an erase start. Again, the whole command is startup config. I'll hit the enter key. I'm going to hit the enter key. That's deleting what's in memory. I don't have this written in. Actually, I kind of have it written in, but what we would do at this point is if we shut down the equipment rack, anything in memory is lost. If I were to do a reload right now, it's going to reboot with no config, so it'll come up clean. So if I want to be thorough, I can, after I do the erase start, I can do a reload and let it reboot. I'm going to move the console cable to the other router and do it real quick while that one's rebooting. So I'm going to move the console cable to the 4221. In here I will do an erase start again. This one I think wants the whole command, so enter, enter. And then again on this one I could either power down or I could do a reload. I don't want to save anything. I literally want to reboot it with no config on. So that one will reboot. On the switches, I'm going to do very much the same thing. I'll plug into the top switch right now. I'm going to do the erase start. Same thing as I did before. On the other ones, erase, startup, config, enter, enter, reload on this one. Let it reboot. And I'll do the other switch as well. So cleanup on these can go very quickly, especially if I start it reloading and just move on to the next one. Erase, startup config on this one, enter, enter, reload as well. And let that one reboot. Now all those are cleared off. I can disconnect my console, and I can disconnect my patch cables. And I want to do that before I go. I don't want to leave those cables behind. I also want to make sure I reset my workstation IP address, which I actually did in between our videos here, so I can be connected back. Go to your network and sharing and make sure, for your Ethernet 3, you set this back to dynamic. Make sure you set it back to obtain IP address automatically. So make sure you do that on both PCs. Alright, last but not least, down here this was all the cleanups. Make sure your PCs are back, make sure your console's away, make sure your patch cables are away. Don't shut the equipment rack down on your lab partner. Whoever's the last one here, make sure you shut down your equipment racks. You don't want to shut the equipment rack down while your partner's still working. Last but not least, gather your files. Again, this is where you double check. Do you have your routing table? Here's my routing table. Do I have both router configs? 2011, 4221. Do I have two switch configs? 2960, 2960. I do. There's all my files. The only thing left are, I have two questions on this one. One is, what's a subnet? Hopefully you should be able to easily answer that now. And what are subnets used for? Why do we use them? What's the purpose for them? That was also in the beginning of Chapter 8 with segmentation. Why are we subnetting? Don't answer to create more IP addresses or anything like that, because think about when you cut pie or pizza, there's always scraps left in the pan. So you're not making more numbers or more networks. There's another reason we're subnetting. What are we using subnets for? What are they used for? Answer those two questions and submit them along with your files, and your Subnet Application Lab will be done.